is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I feel like a growth mindset plays into so much of what I do as a coach, both when I'm working with career seekers and career developers, as well as if I'm working with students. So it's something that I think can enhance most experiences, and so I really am excited to have a conversation about this today. Um, like Haley said, we're going to talk through some definitions. We're going to talk about what it all is, where it comes from a little bit, and then we're going to have some time for some individual reflection and free writing. So that at that point there'll be time for doing some writing on your own. So make sure that you have a pen and paper, or something that you can write on your computer as well. But so glad that you're all here. Before we get too deep into this, though, I would love to start off and hear just a little bit about where you all are coming from and who we've got in the room. So I'd like to just do a little introduction in the chat. So in the chat, I would love for you to share your name, where you're located, what was your last or current role that you were in professionally, and then where are you hoping to go with your next opportunity. And if you're undecided or don't know what direction you're going, you can just put explorer, and that's totally fine. We love our explorers here. So, oh gosh, they're coming in fast already. Lakima, thank you. Chief Equity and Learning Officer. You're exploring. Awesome. Navpreet. California. Okay, housing. Okay, great. We're exploring. Good. Well, project managers, people interested in project managing. That's great. This is also, these groups are great opportunities to connect with each other too. So if you see people who are coming from work that you're interested in or going into something similar, maybe you can connect and collaborate, cheer each other on. Yeah, exploring. Hello, ooh, work in the talent development management industry. Coaching as a career industry. Cool, yay. Yay for coaching. Good, good. Awesome. Did we get everybody? Still waiting on anybody? I think we're waiting on a few, and I'll let you those keep coming in, but I'm gonna get us moving a little bit. Ooh, hi Heidi. From Minneapolis. Oh, I'm from Minnesota originally myself. Institutional education. Okay. Okay, cool. Loving it. Like I said, growth mindset is something that is near and dear to my heart. It's something that I use probably every day, and I sometimes have to remind myself to be in a growth mindset at certain points, because it is something that is a practice and we keep evolving on. And I want to make sure we're all in the same place in terms of our basis of understanding for a fix or a growth mindset. To make sure we're on the same page, we're going to look at a couple definitions, and Haley's got a slide up here for us. So a growth mindset really posits that hard work and help from others and strong learning strategies and working strategies, one can develop abilities. And the sort of opposite of that, or the counterpart to growth mindset, is a fixed mindset. And a fixed mindset really states that talents are what they are and can't be improved. And so research really shows that growth mindset positively impacts motivation and leads to increased focus and learning and doing better. The person who put forward the the ideas of growth mindset versus fixed mindset is an American psychologist called Carol Dweck. She's the author of a book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And so her work has been applied a lot to education, the field of education, which is a great place to use it because that's where a lot of learning happens. So the idea of keeping a growth mindset in education is really important, but it filters into, and we're going to look at it through the lens of a job seeker or career development. And I think it, we put it in the title that this is for career changers, because there's a lot of uncertainty that comes along with making change. And so I think finding ways to stay in that growth mindset is really important during that time. Like I was saying, in the fixed mindset, people really believe that their talent and intellect cannot grow, change, or develop. And those are the basic traits. So an example might be, I'm just not good at math, or I could never learn how to play tennis. I'm not coordinated. So those are examples of statements that someone might say if they're in a fixed mindset. A growth mindset, in contrast, is where people believe they can learn, grow, and develop a skill through dedication and hard work. So what a person with a growth mindset might say to the same sort of elements of the math and the tennis that the fixed mindset person said, they might say, I'm not good at math yet, or I've never played tennis before, but I'd like to learn. So those are a couple of the different ways that you might look at it. At any one time, individuals hold a combination of both growth and fixed mindsets. So you might have a growth mindset in one area of your life, and you might have a fixed mindset in another area. And it can change day to day. Also, you might wake up and feel like you have more growth mindset towards things, and you might have a more fixed mindset towards other things. So, when we're thinking about it in terms of jobs, some statements might be, for a fixed mindset, might be, I'm never going to get that job. It's just not for me, or I can't do it. I don't have the qualifications. Whereas a growth mindset might say, I'm not sure I qualify for that job yet, but I bet I can build those qualifications and build those skills needed for that job. So that's a little bit of an example. So the growth mindset really promotes that love of learning and the fact that learning can lead to accomplishment. And a fixed mindset really lends itself towards getting frustrated and more often leads to people giving up. Because if you just think you can't do it, then why try, right? So we're gonna go over a second page. So this is on a handout that Haley is gonna drop in the chat. And so you'll have this and the previous image as well. But these are some ideas and things to think about when changing a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And it looks at a couple different things to see how, a growth mindset can approach challenges, obstacles, effort, criticism, and success of others. And really, with all of the articles I've read about growth mindset and fixed mindset, looking at the pieces on the growth mindset, the more you can sort of lean yourself towards embracing challenges, really leaning into learning, pushing past obstacles and persisting, really putting in the effort and knowing that and believing that is a path to mastery, seeing criticism as an opportunity to learn, seeing failure as an opportunity to learn, and really what you can get from the success, seeing the success of others as inspiration and ways to find lessons to have how you can get there. The more that you're able to do that, the more you're going to be able to move forward in the career field. And there are lots of articles that you can look up. So if you Google growth mindset in career development, there are lots of articles, lots of blog posts and things like that on the topic. So definitely look into that. Um, and I want to stress again that no person is wholly fixed or wholly growth mindset. We carry both, and that's okay. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is have awareness about where we are fixed and think about how we can transition to the growth mindset. Thinking about how does having a fixed mindset in one area impact our ability to move forward in the way that we want to in our career.
I think I would just also add, like, I think this document really showcases a couple of questions I have to ask myself in various parts of my career as well. And so I think they're like, along with everything Kate said, I think there's also like pieces where you flow in and out of whether you have a growth or a fixed mindset, depending on where you're at in your career or where you're headed in your career. And I think sometimes really taking a look at those questions, if you're feeling like you could use some confidence in a change, I think can be another really good thing to do, because oftentimes, and I looked at your introductions, many of you may be coming from places where you've used all sorts of skills and all sorts of growth mindset. And so the idea of like switching to something else that uses different skills or different knowledge can sometimes cause us to shift where our mindset is at in any given moment. So I was reflecting on a few places where that's happened for me, and how I haven't asked myself a couple of those questions in a while.
Thanks, Haley. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to go into our reflection time, and there's a whole stack of questions. I'm going to have Haley put it on the screen, but I'm also going to read through each one and give space between each one. But I want you to really take some time to reflect for yourself. Like I said, part of this is recognizing where we exist in a growth mindset and where we exist in a fixed mindset, and being conscious and honest with ourselves about how that impacts us. So I want you to pull out your piece of paper or pull up something on your screen to write with. This is a private free writing exercise for yourself, so no need to put it in the chat or anything. But I would love for you to just take a little bit of time to reflect. And like I said, I'll read through each one of these and give space between each one, but it's visually on the screen if you're a more visual learner as well. And we'll take probably about, let's see, how many questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 15 or so minutes to work through and answer these questions. So we'll have some time. First question is, where do you notice yourself functioning with a fixed mindset in your job search? And as part of that, what do you hear yourself saying?
And it sounds like we may have a question.
Yeah.
I see a raised hand.
Bella, do you want to?
Yeah, Kate, thank you guys. My question is, in addition to writing it down, do you want us to share with the group, or do you want us to kind of report out towards the end?
We'll have time to share with the group later.
Got it.
Yeah, we're going to start with just sort of our reflection.
That's what I thought. I heard you earlier. I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
No, I appreciate it. Clarification's good. Thank you for asking. The second question is, where do you notice yourself functioning with a growth mindset in your search? And what do you hear yourself saying there? And this question isn't written there, but I'd be curious, what's the difference between the two places where you have a fixed mindset and a growth mindset within your job search? Who is an example of a person you know who exhibits a strong growth mindset? And what are characteristics that show this and demonstrate this to you? If you find yourself living with a fixed mindset, imagine what it would mean to make a shift to a growth mindset. How could this impact your career transition or job search? What would it look like, to sort of add on to that last one, what would it look like to make that shift to a growth mindset in your life or career transition, job search? All right. How can you reframe your challenges or stories you're telling yourself to be more growth mindset oriented? Are there words that you can shift? One of the most powerful words I'll say is the word yet when it comes to growth mindset, the power of yet. So in those stories or challenges that you're reframing, where can you insert the word yet? Okay, next on your piece of paper, make some space. I want you to think of what is a growth mindset mantra that might be helpful to you. You can look at the image, this image, and look at some of those phrases. So mantra is really something that we're repeating to ourselves, the words we want to tell ourselves. Or you can make up your own. Focus on the growth mindset phrases though. What's something you want to write down that when you recognize you're in a growth mindset, you can look at and it'll bring you back or help you turn it around. Make some room in that paper and write it down. And the final question there, who is someone that can support you in your pursuit of a growth mindset in your job search or career change? It helps to have an accountability partner, right? So who's maybe a trusted friend or loved one or mentor who can support you in making a shift to growth mindset or cultivating a growth mindset or maintaining your growth mindset? Haley, can you bring us back? There we go. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. I thank you for taking that time for some reflection. I know those were a lot of questions. It's a lot of food for thought. And it's okay if you continue thinking about these later. It's okay if you haven't found all the answers yet. There's still time. So definitely, keep this handy and know that you can reflect back on this. Before we're going to have an opportunity to sort of connect with your colleagues and sort of share a little bit about what you are, I talked about accountability being part of this, and this is what this group is for as well, a chance to connect with your colleagues and sort of be with each other and being able to share and hear where others are coming from and to share what you plan to do so you can say that out loud. There's a lot of power to saying what you're going to do out loud as well. So we'll have a chance for that in a minute, but I'd love to just maybe hear from one volunteer before we do breakout groups to just hear how that experience was in that reflection, if there are any ahas out there. Anybody willing to share?
As I was reflecting on the questions, some of them, the first question is whether you notice yourself functioning with a fixed mindset in your job search. And sometimes in doing so, I would think that it's overwhelming to do all the necessary steps in your job search. And so that's, to me, that could be a fixed mindset as opposed to, the growth mindset is not looking at it, but just focusing on those things as a positive thing, positive steps towards your a new career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So instead of seeing like, oh gosh, there's this whole list of things, there's no way I can meet all those expectations, right?
Yes.
To change that to be like, okay, well, they know exactly what they're looking for, and I think I can do that. I think I can do those things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Appreciate this. Vicente, do you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, one thing that I was reflecting when I was writing my ideas here is that it's very important when you have an interview, job interview, to have that positive mindset, because when you are answering the question and you are in a negative mood, you are not going to get nothing, This is very important to have that, it's like a new way to live, it's because you need to be optimist every day, not just the day of the interview. You need to have that growth mindset as a way of living,
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're talking about how you can how it impacts how you communicate yourself to somebody else, a potential employer. And I think that's so true. And I think sometimes it might even really behoove us in an interview setting or in a networking setting to talk really explicitly about having a growth mindset in certain areas. So if you're making a career transition and you haven't worked in the field you're going to be working in before, you're not going to have things on your resume that show that you have that job title, right? If you're making a real big switch. And so you might have employers ask you about that. Say, I see that you don't have experience in this. And you might say, well, I don't have experience in that yet, but this is how my skills
Exactly
translate.
right.
This is how my
Exactly.
knowledge translates. And this is why I'm really excited about this transition.
Yes.
So that's a really different thing than if you were in a fixed mindset to say, you're right, I don't, I just don't have it. And you could psych yourself out by saying, that job requires this many years of experience. I don't qualify. But there's space for that. There's space for people who don't have that experience in a new field. So yeah, thank you for that, Vicente. That's really helpful. Awesome.
I think too, one thing I wanted to share too, Kate, is just, I think part of why we walk you through this exercise and encourage that idea of like reflecting on these things and like actually giving yourself a chance to have a mantra is that if you don't address these things in your mind, oftentimes when I'm talking to people or working with people, that's what comes out, right? Verbally, if this is the first time they've actually processed what maybe they are trying to say about a new opportunity, is that those little worries and fears will come out in your language. And so giving yourself that opportunity to go through some of these questions, either in writing or with someone you trust that's not maybe the interviewer or whoever's reviewing your application, can really be powerful in finding the right words that better describe who you are and why they should choose you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Haley. This is a really great discussion so far. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody's thoughts and participation. We're going to move towards the breakout groups right now, and we're going to have some time to come back and debrief a little bit more after that. But the breakout rooms are really a great opportunity for you to connect with each other. One, again, there's power to saying out loud what you have learned and what you intend to do. And I know sometimes that's just easier with a few people rather than a whole group. So we like to provide that opportunity. Also, as Vicente was saying and Haley was saying, when we're going into job interviews or networking sessions, things like that, having the ability to practice in a really low risk situation, to practice the language, to say the things, to reflect your growth mindset can be really valuable. And this is one of those very low risk situations because we're all here to learn together. Okay. So Haley is going to put you together in groups. If you are not able to come off mute and participate, we know some people are zooming in from places where it's just not possible to come off mute and participate. That's okay. We've kind of gone over the bulk of everything, and you're welcome to sign off at this point. Haley, can you drop the survey in there and the Facebook in the chat just for the folks who might have to drop off? We'll put those things in later for people who are staying as well. But if you can come off mute and you can participate, we really encourage it. It's really beneficial, and participants who participate in the breakout rooms tend to have great things to say about it. We've even had people network with each other in there and exchange information to keep in touch about the job search. So definitely encourage that as well, if it feels good to you all. In your breakout rooms, what I'm going to have Haley put you in groups of 3. It looks like maybe 3, a group of 3 and a group of 4, it looks like. I want you to share, if you're comfortable, you can share where you feel like you're running into that fixed mindset. I'd love for you to then share, though, if you're not comfortable sharing that, that's okay. You can just share a little bit about, if you're creating some sort of mantra for yourself, what's the wording that you're using for yourself? How can you communicate your growth mindset to a potential employer? And then if you're feeling stuck on how to communicate that, or a mantra that you can tell yourself, go ahead and ask your colleagues for help. Ask them for suggestions, and you can brainstorm together around things that might be helpful. So I will pop those in the chat, those questions as well. And Haley,
Groups
how are we
are
looking on
ready.
our groups?
We are
We're
ready.
Okay, and can we do just about 10 minutes? Actually, let's go 12 minutes, please.
Yep.
And then everyone has a fair amount of a few minutes each.
All right, rooms are opening. You should see something pop up on your screen and invite you.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back. I want to take just a few minutes here towards the end to just debrief a little bit, and I'll share a little bit. I'll have Haley share the links for how we can stay connected after this as well. And then we will stick around for about 10 minutes after for just any Q&A about this topic or other topics. So just know that time will be there and available if we don't get to it in our formal time here. So I'm curious to hear, how are y'all feeling? Napri, we can address that a little bit in the next one. I don't go over too much of it, just because I'm not I'm partner with SkillUp, but I don't work for them, so I don't know all of the details. But I can point you to things on their website. So we can definitely cover that in the Q&A section a little bit. And just to debrief a little bit with the growth mindset before we move on to other topics, I want to hear, and you can put this in the chat, or you can feel free to come off mute because we're a small group. What did you discover in this process? Or were there any surprises? Did you hear anything that you liked from your colleagues? Did you hear something that you're like, ooh, that's great, and I want to remember that? Did you come up with any next steps? Is there anything that you feel like you can do? I know that's a lot of questions. I'll put them in the chat. But you can answer them, answer one of them, answer more of them.
I met a very interesting person, and she gave me one idea that I never heard about that. I'm going to try that.
What's the idea?
It's a position, that is very similar to project managers. And I'm going to look Google after this meeting. And this is a great idea. And that's the great thing of sharing information with other people, because you get very valuable information that you never heard about it, and that's why I share my email, she shared hers, and this is something that I strongly recommend, to share information, to have friends, because some of them can help you, or you can help another person.
And you're also demonstrating, I just want to call out excellent growth mindset, because if you're not willing to say there's things I want to grow in, you're not going to get those connections. So I want to thank that example too. Like, that's so great to hear that you got something specific. And I think that does really come from oftentimes the place of being willing to say, hey, I want to learn. I am great and I can learn more. And here's what I want to learn, and build those network that way, those connections.
Yeah, and live networking. I love hearing that too. Navpreet, I saw you come off mute for a second. Did you have something you wanted to share?
No, when he said women are shy, I'm like, well, I'm not. I was called, the leader in me was called to speak. So one of the things I think I got out of my group was just the idea of like, when you're transitioning into a different career path or a different role that might require different like technical skills, just when you're interviewing, using the word yet, and trying to articulate, I might not have those skills yet, but I'm willing to learn, and trying to see what skills you might already have that can be applied to the role, especially if you're still exploring or switching into something else.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That makes me think of, I had one job interview. I was a school counselor in a past life. And I had one job interview and I got the position, and I asked one of my interviewers, what was it that tipped the scales in my favor, because I was curious. I wanted feedback. I was seeking feedback, which is part of that growth mindset. But they said it was my willingness to ask questions. And because one of the questions they asked me was, what would you do if someone came to you with a question that you didn't have the answer to? And I said, well, I definitely wouldn't give them information that I'm making up. I would go ask the questions to get the information that I need to best serve that student or that family. And so that is something that I really think can go a long way, is employers recognize that your willingness to ask questions and willingness to learn is such a strength. Yeah, thank you, Navpreet. I appreciate that. All right, Haley's putting some information in the wrap up. There's a survey that we ask that you fill out. It's a very quick online survey. It gives us feedback about these sessions, and it helps us. We look at it every time, and we like to, and it's anonymous, and we like to just get your input so that we can continue to evolve these sessions to make sure that they're useful and relevant for you. So definitely do that. We also have some ways to stay in touch. The SkillUp has a Facebook page that, rather it's a group, a private group that you can join. And both myself and my colleague Josh, who's not here today, are in there answering questions. We're both career coaches and we both answer questions in there. SkillUp also has an Instagram where they share information and resources and things on there. We once a quarter do an Instagram live as well with SkillUp, so that's another opportunity to see us talk through some different topics. And then these sessions happen every Wednesday. I think there's one Wednesday in December where it will not happen, but that's about it. So please come back for different sessions. There are about, I think it was 10 to 12 sessions in sort of a series before we start and sort of loop back and start from the beginning again. So if you started with us here at Growth Mindset, you will have about 10 or 12 sessions in a row before you get back to Growth Mindset again. So you can come back for various sessions and that might be relevant or interesting to you. And then there's also the LinkedIn link there as well.